Hello again. Today I'm going to talk about how running can help your cycling fitness, and it's definitely got some great strengths to help that. Many people that I coach combine cycling and running very effectively, and it complements both. Some compete in both disciplines. Some are runners and use cycling to help their running fitness, and some are cyclists and helps running to help their cycling fitness. So how can it help? Well, in colder months, it's a great way to keep warm. It's much easier to keep warm when you're running. You don't have to clean your bike. So there's sort of benefits in the what we traditionally call the off-season, when the weather's not so good and it's colder. It's also safer to go running in the dark than it is to be cycling on busy roads, even if you've got good lights. If you're short of time, it's a quick way of getting a quick session in. You don't have to mess about getting all your cycling gear on. It's also quite efficient because you can't freewheel when you're running. You're actually using energy all the time. Your heart rate doesn't drop down very much. Whereas in cycling, if you are on a descent or you have to stop at traffic lights or whatever, your heart rate drops. You're not getting the training benefit. So it actually, depending on what you're doing, it can take a bit longer to do the same amount of training on the bike as you do when you're running. Obviously, if you're on an indoor trainer, that's a very efficient way to train as well, and some people prefer that. Obviously, that would be more effective than running because it's more specific in this respect. Makes a nice change, so in the off-season, getting out for a run can, particularly if you're stuck on an indoor trainer for all your cycling, it gives you a great way to get out and enjoy some fresh air. And also, it's really good for your bone density, so particularly if you're an older female athlete, where osteoporosis becomes an increasing risk, then getting out and doing a bit of running or some strength work can make a big difference to maintain your bone density, and therefore you're at less risk of broken bones and trauma, which obviously can come in the unfortunate event that you fall off your bike. So how do you do it? How do you incorporate it into your cycling? Well, there are two main ways to do that. Traditionally, the simplest way is to just replace some of your endurance cycle rides with runs. So your shorter endurance rides, you could go for a run. If you normally do for an hour's cycling, obviously you don't want to go out for an hour's run straight away, because running is much more prone to getting overuse injury than cycling, particularly if you're not used to it. The other way to do it is to use running for your interval session. And great sessions for that, hill sessions, where you're doing your sort of what we might call a VO2 max session or a maximal aerobic type session, things like 3 to 5 minutes with a similar duration recovery. If you do that on a hill, find a hill that takes you 4 or 5 minutes to run up it as hard as you can, jog back down to the bottom really easily, and start again after, well, say you just a 4-minute hill, start again after 4 minutes. Do it 4 or 5 times, have a bit of a break and do it again, and that'll be an amazing session. And it also, because running uphill and cycling is actually quite a similar motion, then if you look at the power phase on the bike and the power phase when you're running up a hill of a reasonably comfortable gradient, it's quite similar. So one thing I should say is, if you like this video, please click the like button, and it'll really help me. It helps it spread, and it helps me help more people, which hopefully you would want, and it gives me lots of motivation to create more videos. So the factor in running is to build up really gradually. Running, as I mentioned earlier, gives you a higher risk of injury, and it can be a bit more damaging because of the eccentric contraction of your muscles. It produces a higher risk of DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. So you can be sore after your first few runs, particularly if you run fast downhill, then that can be really sore. But obviously you get trade-offs, because it causes a bit more soreness, but that's why it's good for bone density, because of the impact. So having a bit of impact actually not a bad thing, and taking the pain to get used to running gives you the other benefits that I'd mentioned previously. So the other thing, because it's more damaging, you don't really want to do a run before a hard cycling workout. You don't want to be sore or tired before you start doing your high intensity cycling workouts, which are really making the big difference to your fitness, that's taking you onto your cycling goals. And if cycling is your main sport, then cycling should be your main sport, and your most important training sessions should be on the bike. Running is a useful alternative and really effective, and enhances your cycling training. But remember that cycling is your main sport. If it is, focus on cycling and fit in the running to complement that. And keeping focus right in training is basically the fundamental. You have to remember, don't just do the things you like, although doing things you like might make you train harder, but do the things that are important and be aware of what's important, okay? And as you reach, as you get towards your A race, your main events, then you may need to cut down on any running that you're doing. If you're racing off-road, say you're a mountain biker, then running's not going to really have a big detriment on your riding, because mountain biking is quite variable. You might have to get off and walk anyway on occasion, so the ability to run is quite useful. And actually being used to the impact for rough downhills can be a benefit of running. It sort of toughens you a bit. You get used to that jumping up and down, and it's really useful. However, if you're racing a time trial, for instance, if you're training for a 10-mile time trial, then I would just sort of stop running for a few weeks before that, because it's not specific. It's not sort of complementing that really smooth pedaling action that you want, and you want to get used to sitting in that time trialing position. So you may want to back off depending on what your event is. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Have fun with your running. Get in touch if you need any help. And I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.